Welcome back to Wall Again, where passion meets music. In this episode, I'm going to be ranking my top 10 alternative rock bands of all time. So without further ado, let's dive straight in. Coming in at number 10, it is the Stone Temple Pilots. These guys were around in the early 1990s, I suppose they started, and they came from San Diego, so weren't really a grunge band as such in terms of a lot of the other grunge bands came from Seattle. They were from a different part of the States, a different part of the West Coast. However, they did sound very much like the style of the other grunge bands like Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, and of course Nirvana. But this band were definitely different. They brought a different sound to things, of course fronted by Scott Weiland, and they had brothers Rob DeLeo and Dean DeLeo on bass and guitar respectively, and on the drums was Eric Kretz. So a fantastic rock band. They had some great songs and some great albums throughout the 1990s. I was lucky enough to see them in Donington in 2010, I believe it was, and they were absolutely phenomenal. They've got so many great songs, like even on this album alone, this album Core, they've got the song Sex Type Thing, Creep, Plush, and Cracker Man. Absolutely brilliant songs, top-notch band, and fully deserve to be on this list, coming in at number 10. Coming in at number 9, it is English rock band, the Manic Street Preachers. Welsh rock band, should I say. Not English, Welsh. Sorry about that, anyone from Wales watching the channel. But yeah, these guys are absolutely top-notch. Of course, fronted by James Dean Bradfield, with Nicky Wire on bass, and he's the primary songwriter at the moment. They also had Sean Moore on drums, and on guitar was Richie Edwards, who actually disappeared in the 1990s and has never been found, presumed dead, unfortunately. So they've continued on as a three-piece after his disappearance, but the output of this band from the 1990s was absolutely fantastic. We had Generation Terrorists, which is this album here, a brilliant album by the band. They also released an album called Everything Must Go, and they also have another album, The Holy Bible, in the 1990s, which was fantastic. And then they kind of veered into more of a pop style around 1998 with their album This Is My Truth, Tell Me Yours. But an excellent band. I've seen them 5-6 times now at this stage, and every time I've seen them, they play at a festival and they put on a great show. Absolutely brilliant. They have loads of hits, loads of great songs, but yeah, I think Manic Street Preachers are actually a bit of an underrated band, to be honest. They've been on the scene a long time, but well deserving at their place at number 9 in my list. And sorry again, anyone from Wales. Okay, coming in here at number 8, it is Rage Against the Machine. Coming from the Los Angeles scene in 1992, they released their debut album, followed up then with Evil Empire, then this album, The Battle of Los Angeles. Of course, it was Zach De La Rocca on vocals, Tom Morello on guitars, Timmy C on bass, and Brad Wilk on drums. An absolute powerhouse of the rap metal scene that started in the early 1990s, went on to influence bands such as Korn, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, and many others. But I have to say, these guys were phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Heavy riffs, should I say, and a great groove, great guitars and drums on this band here. Absolutely brilliant. And I was lucky enough to see them twice. I saw them at Donington, and I also saw them at Punchestown in Ireland, and they blew me away, honestly, live. They were so good. So well deserving at their place at number 8 on my list. Coming in at number 7 is a band from Chicago, Illinois. It's the Smashing Pumpkins. Absolutely brilliant. These guys were formed in the late 1980s, early 1990s. Their debut album Gish was absolutely fantastic, followed up by their classic album. The second album that they released was called Siamese Dream, and it was absolutely brilliant. There was no one else that sounded anything like the Smashing Pumpkins. Of course, Billy Corgan, who's the frontman, he has a very unique voice. And then they have Jimmy Chamberlain on drums. He is a fantastic drummer, one of the best rock drummers around in the 1990s. And then they had James Iha on guitar and Darcy Retsky on bass in the 1990s. But this album from 1995, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, it was a double album. No one else at that time was really releasing double albums, or certainly albums of this length. But they absolutely blow it away on this one as well. It's got Tonight, it's got Zero, it's got Bullet with Butterfly Wings. It's got 1979. Absolutely brilliant. Top drawer. Lucky enough to see these guys last year, and they blew me away. They were phenomenal. So yeah, Smashing Pumpkins, well deserved on my list at number 7. Coming in at number 6, from Athens, Georgia, it is R.E.M. Not only were these guys one of the biggest alternative rock bands of all time, they were also one of the biggest rock bands of all time. Absolutely phenomenal. They crossed over from sort of an underground indie scene into the mainstream and became one of the biggest rock bands of the 1990s, without a doubt. Unfortunately, they split up in the late 2010s, could have been 2011, 2012, something around that. And they've done some shows recently, so hopefully there's a reunion on the cards, and they will be on tour again. But I don't know, to be honest. I got to see these guys once in Punchestown, and they were absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. Of course, headed up by Michael Stipe on vocals, Mike Mills on bass and keys and loads of other instruments. They also had Bill Buck on the drums, and they were just absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal band. Okay, coming in at number 5 is English band Radiohead. Kind of coming from the college scene, these guys were educated. They knew what they were doing in terms of music. They all had like music and art qualifications from the university days. Very similar to Pink Floyd in that kind of a background, sort of an English middle class sort of a vibe from them. But their music was absolutely incredible. Their debut album is okay, Pablo Honey. But then with this one here, The Bends, they absolutely blow it away on this one. Followed then, of course, by OK Computer, and then we're into Kid A and Amnesiac. And to be honest, throughout the 1990s, the late 1990s, certainly in, Northern Europe, should we say, Ireland, England, there was no one doing what Radiohead were doing. They were certainly alternative to the mainstream. And, of course, led by Tom York, an absolutely brilliant live band. Never got to see these guys live. Unfortunately, they are on my bucket list. So hopefully at some point, if they do reunite and they do tour, I will be one of the first ones there, because I never caught them the first time around. But yeah, an absolutely phenomenal band and well deserving of their place at number 5. Coming in at number 4, we are going up to the northwest in the States and to Seattle, and we have Soundgarden. Absolutely brilliant band. They were probably the late bloomers of the grunge scene. They really didn't get mainstream notice or recognition, certainly in this part of the world, until Super Unknown, and of course the song Black Hole Sun with that very, very famous video. But to be honest with you, going back through their back catalogue, there are way more brilliant songs than just that one tune from Soundgarden. Of course, Bad Motor Finger was released in 1991. That's a phenomenal album. And then we have this one down on the upside, but they also have King Animal, and then they have their earlier albums like Ultra Amigo and Love and Loud, or Live Loud, I think it's called. But yeah, absolutely brilliant band. Soundgarden, of course, headed up by Chris Cornell with Kim Thayil, Ben Shepherd and Mac Cameron on the drums. Fantastic. Unfortunately, Chris passed away and they're no longer a band as such. They reunite now and again. But yeah, I was lucky enough to see Chris live twice. And of course, he played a healthy dose of not only Audioslave, but also Soundgarden and his own stuff. And an absolutely brilliant singer, one of the best rock singers of all time. Coming in at number 3, it is Pearl Jam, another band from Seattle. And these guys are really the only grunge band that their members are still alive and they're still together. Got to see these guys last year and they were absolutely phenomenal, absolutely blew it out of the park. Eddie Vedder, of course, is the frontman, lead singer, main songwriter of the band. With Stone Gossard and rhythm guitar. Stone was responsible for a lot of the early songwriting, but as Eddie came into the band, then he sort of shared the songwriting duties with Eddie, along with Jeff Ament, who is the bass player. He also had a massive contribution to the songwriting. One of the best lead guitar players from the grunge scene, Mike McCready, of course, is in this band as well. Absolutely phenomenal guitar player. And he also introduced some songwriting from the late 1990s onwards. And yeah, there's no question he's one of the greatest guitar players of all time, Mike McCready. And then on drums, they've had various different players. Of course, they had Dave Cruzen, who recorded this album 10. Dave had to leave the band shortly after that. They brought in Matt Chamberlain, and then they brought in Dave Abruzzese. Dave did Verses and Vitalogy. Dave was then replaced by Jeremy Irons, who came in to do Yield. And then Matt Cameron from Soundgarden ended up joining the band in around the late 1990s, and he's been with the band ever since. But yeah, Pearl Jam, well deserving of their place at number 3. Coming in at number 2, another band from Seattle, it is of course Nirvana. One of the best rock bands of all time, and this album is one of the best rock albums of all time. Kurt Cobain, Dave Grohl and Chris Novoselic, absolutely fantastic. They really opened the doors and brought grunge to the mainstream with this album, Nevermind, but also with the hit single Smells Like Teen Spirit. Of course, they were gone before my time, before I had a chance to see them. I think they only ever played Ireland once or twice in the early 1990s, and I was a very young child at that time, so I never got to see them live. Of course, Kurt Cobain tragically passed away in 1994, and that was all she wrote. But a phenomenal band, and their impact on music is still felt everywhere today. If you go down, certainly where I live or in Ireland, you go down any main street of any large town or city in Ireland and you will see loads of young people wearing Nirvana t-shirts, and that just tells you how lasting their legacy has been. It's absolutely unbelievable, and they're an incredible band and well deserving at their place at number 2. Okay, coming in at number 1, probably no surprise to people who watch my channel, it's Alice in Chains, another band from the Seattle scene. Of course, headed up by Lane Staley on vocals and occasional guitar. The absolutely mastermind genius of Jerry Cantrell. He wrote most of the music. He played most of the guitars. He arranged most of the songs. An absolutely fantastic musician and guitar player. And then Sean Kinney on drums. And on bass there was Mike Starr to a point. And then he was replaced by Mike Inez. But I have to say, Alice in Chains, their back catalogue, certainly from the 1990s, it really stands up. I've seen these guys live a number of times supporting Metallica. I saw them at the Download Festival when it came to Dublin in 2006. And then I also saw them at Marley Park in 2009. They played shortened sets. Of course, William was singing. But Jerry Cantrell is actually on tour at the moment, and he's coming to the UK and Europe in the summer. So I'm hoping he'll sneak a Dublin date in there, because I'd love to see his solo stuff. His latest album is brilliant. But I have to say, Alice in Chains on their own, for me, they are the standout alternative rock band, the best rock band from the 1990s and from the whole alternative scene, in my opinion. And yeah, I'd be very interested to hear what people think of my list. And certainly put in the comments below what you believe your top 10 alternative rock bands of all time are. If you don't have time to do 10, maybe just do 5 or 3. But I would love to hear people's opinion out there. If you like this video, hit the like button. And if you could also subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. And I will talk to you on the next one. Bye for now.